Well, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the farm. We have a quick little boil going on this afternoon. It is Tuesday afternoon, and we have about 65 gallons of sap that we are going to go ahead and get processed this evening, and we're going to take all the way to syrup. Over the next few days, we're really cold, so we're not going to get a lot of runs, so I did not want to sit on this 65 gallons longer than I needed to in anticipation of trying to build up. Normally we like to run over 100 gallons at a time, but we're going to go ahead and do this small one today. So I am going to take advantage of the small batch to take a minute to show you guys my CDL vacuum filter press. So this is our second season running the CDL vacuum filter. This is the 9-inch, so it's got it has a 3.6 gallon capacity. Now I would tell you, other than adding the reverse osmosis that we did 3 or 4 years ago, adding the vacuum filter has been the biggest game changer to our sugaring process that we have made in the last few years. One of the key things that it's allowed us to do is it's made it much easier for us to do draw-offs. So you can see back there, we are adding from our pre-warmer raw sap into this flute. It cuts across here, it goes back up the pan, it cuts across again, and it comes down this. So with this type of tray, we are able to do 1.5, 2 gallon draw-offs where we're finished syrup all the way down here, even though we're still adding raw sap. So we're able to do draw-offs. We can go straight into our vacuum filter. We can process it through the filter. It's still hot enough that we're over right around that 180 degree mark, a little bit over normally, and that's still fine. And so that means when we're bottling, we can bottle straight from here. When we're over that temperature, we know that we're getting the inside of the bottles sanitized. So we're able to come right off the boiler, and within, sometimes not even 5 minutes, we are into our bottles. So before we get to the point of filtration, I'm going to show you guys the setup, because once we get to that point, it's going to be really hard for me to be doing my draw-offs, talking, and manning the vacuum pump and all of that all at the same time. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the setup before we get to that point, and then I'll probably just set the camera up and maybe do a time lapse of the actual draw off going on. So right now we have our filters. I keep them up under the steam hood, up under the vent hood, because we want these to be warm and wet. There are 2 filters. There is a pre-filter, which is the same material as the usual cone pre-filters, if you're familiar with using filter cones. And then the other is just a round version of the wool that your cone filter would be made of. So those are really the same exact things. They're just a little bit different shape to facilitate going on top of the vacuum filter. So the next step of the process, and you will see me do all of this, but like I said, it's going to be hard to hold the camera, talk about it, and do the filtering at the same time. The next step of the process is the diatomaceous earth. Now, I am no scientist, but I will try to explain this the best that I can. This is a food grade diatomaceous earth, which is basically ground up ancient sea fossils, is sort of what I understand it to be. From what I understand, it has a very porous cellular structure, and so the way we do it is we will make a slurry out of this. That slurry will go on top of our pre-filter, so we will go wool filter, pre-filter, diatomaceous earth slurry. And what the diatomaceous earth will do with that, open cellular structure is it will act as a filter as well, and it will also grab niter and sugar sand and impurities inside of the syrup as it passes through it, then the pre-filter, then the wool filter. Like I said, we'll show you the slurry. We just take a couple of tablespoons. It's not really that much. I will mix this with some syrup right before we're about to do. This is the last thing that I'll do before we start the filtering, because we want everything to be hot. We want warm, wet filters. I'm going to warm up the actual filter press. I will put usually we put some water in this, and we'll put it on the propane burner, or we'll, at the very least, we will set it on top of the tray and get everything warmed up, because robbing heat is sort of the enemy. If you want it to make it through the filters, we want everything to still be hot, because the cold stuff just does not flow through the filter. So we got our little slurry. Said this is just a couple of tablespoons of diatomaceous earth. This is gonna go on top. Wool filter, pre-filter, diatomaceous earth. And then our last piece, most important piece, won't be a vacuum filter without the vacuum. We have not found a good size fitting yet, but we're still using tape to hook our vacuum up. And the moment of truth. We turn on the vacuum and it pulls it through all that filter medium. And what used to take us 30, 40, 50, an hour, we'll get through in just a minute or two. If the sugar sand's real bad, maybe 3 or 4 minutes. We have managed to plug these. I'll talk about that once the vacuum turns off. 3 minutes, 12 seconds. And you can see, pulled all that through there. And we're still hot enough to bottle. Here's our finished product. You can see it is just absolutely crystal clear. Here we have it in a small bottle. No sugar sand, nothing makes it through that diatomaceous earth slurry. And like I showed you a second ago, you can see just how thick it is. I mean, that's a half, 7/16 of an inch thick. I mean, it really picks up all of it, and nothing makes it through the other side. We have had 2 instances that I can remember where we tried to do it wasn't too big of a batch. It was within the capacity of the filter, within that 3.6 gallons that the filter can handle. But there was so much sugar sand, it did clog our filter. Now, the clogged filter did not affect any of the product that made it inside of the pot. All of that was still crystal clear and did not have any sugar sand that presented inside of the pot. But we have twice, like I said, had the issue where there was just so much niter and sugar sand that little vacuum especially just did not have the guts to get it sucked through that filter media. If there was a bigger vacuum working on it, it probably could have gotten more. And that was straight from, we called CDL and we got them on the phone, and they actually were really helpful, and they told us that, well, it's a really bad sugar sand year from what we're hearing reports all across Canada, the northeastern United States, the places that do maple syrup. So I guess that's another positive, is we were able to get somebody from CDL on the phone and they were able to give us that information. So I think that should just about cover it. But if there is an outstanding question that you have about the vacuum filter press, definitely leave that for me down in the comments. Got no problem, love interacting with you guys. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, think about hitting that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And until next time, y'all, we will see you.